I can.
Get a little closer. Okay. All right, shall we start recording? All right, we're recording now. Well, Sunita Martin, thank you very much for joining us today.
Good morning, it's a pleasure.
All right. This is the Daydream to Reality, which we've all come to Merida to study and to learn, to develop a plan, hopefully to get more financial freedom in the next 3 years and possibly more free time. And I asked Sunita to come this morning because she is an incredible entrepreneur. Sunita was born in Bahrain, and she did share with me that the first time she saw a certain person, a man, she said, "I'm going to marry that man." The very first day that she saw him, she knew she was going to marry. Now she has 2 beautiful daughters here in Merida working with her. Her husband is very tall. I haven't met him yet, but he's from Texas, so by definition, right? Texas.
Actually, he's from Montana and Durango, Colorado.
But is he in Texas
now
now?
in Texas.
All right, well,
yes.
There you go. I stand corrected again. And he's an international law lawyer, and so Sunita is an international person herself. And so I guess the first question people would be interested in is how and why did you find your way to Merida?
So we started coming here in 2002. We were invited by the owners of the haciendas, the luxury collection. They had just built it. Merida was just coming into the picture, you know, in the Yucatan had been so underdeveloped at that point. And Roberto Hernandez from City or Banamex, he's the one who built the 5 haciendas. They invited us out, and we got to stay at all the haciendas. And my husband fell in love with cave diving, and so he's a technical cave diver now as well, and with the Explorers Club. And so that's really what brought us out. We kept coming back every year. And Merida wasn't a destination in those days. It was more, we would go to Campeche and Tulum for the diving, but we fly into Merida, so it's changed quite a bit. And then in 2008, we decided maybe we'll retire here. And so we bought this place, which was in ruins.
It was a ruin.
It was in ruins, just like everything else on, you know, the other 2 projects of mine. Right. And then the market tanked. So it was at a high in 2008 when we bought this, and we were still in San Diego, and I didn't know what to do with it until one day he looked at me and said, you know, the girls, one of the oldest was graduating, so maybe we should build this. Now is a good time to do it, and that was in 2012. And so then we sat down, and I said, what do you think we should do? And he said, let's do a little boutique hotel. And I thought, okay, you know, I've done it. So he drew it out, and I worked with the contractors here remotely to do it, and that's what started us. It was ready by 2014, and the plan was.
So how long did it take to develop the plans? And I know you got a building permit for it.
Right. So you have to go through 2 steps. You have to go through the historical society. That's number 1. If they
That's
don't
for Central, though, right?
Yes, this whole area is historical.
Good.
And then once you get that permit, then you can go to the city for the actual construction permit. But the Historical Society is extremely hard and to get things approved. We are right next door to the Palacio Canton. So they were even more tough on us for this project. But it took a year and a half to get that permit, got it, and then we took another year. Actually, it took 2 years nearly to finish, because even though I moved here in 2014, we didn't really open until 2015 properly with everything. You know, we had people coming and going, all that, but it was not ready as yet. So
it took a long time, and you have a staff, I think, of 50 amongst all the properties that you operate. It's very unusual, at least in my experience, to find somebody who's a developer, who's a builder, and an operator.
Right.
How did you learn? Because I know we've all been here for a week or more, and we know you're an excellent operator, you have an excellent staff. How did you learn those skills?
So in San Diego, so my background is real estate development. I actually started with Mobil Oil back in the 80s when they did their first project in Southern California, and I was a controller there for them. And then I moved to Rancon Real Estate, which was in Temecula, and they would buy up land. So the first job was working just with land sales. So, you know, we buy raw land, put in the infrastructure, and then sell the finished pads to the developers like McMillan and so forth in Southern California. And then after that, I moved to a REIT, and I was a fund controller for them also, and I did a REIT, you know, the whole REITs, and that went out of business.
Wow.
And yeah, so that was in the late 80s. And I moved into, then I became a CFO for Soul Price Clubs, which I don't know if you'll have heard of him. Yeah, so, and then he sold his, but I was on his for-profit land development side, land and real estate. So we did mixed use construction in San Diego. We also did redevelopment work with the city of San Diego. And it was a very small team. So even though I was the CFO, I was also sometimes a project manager. And so you learn how to do everything in those, you know, in that sort of a company.
But in terms of actually being an operator of a boutique hotel, and then you, of course, you've got the cafe next door,
Right.
the bakery, and then the
Right.
tree house hotel with 200-year-old trees that you
Right.
preserve, and I think you're building a roastery as well.
Right.
All right, so those are all development, and you have development background, but on the operational side, I've said to everybody, if you can't operate excellently, right, it's very hard to make money in any business, and particularly in the real estate business. Property management is a core competency. In this case, it goes beyond just property management.
Right.
You're a hotelier.
Right, and I never did a hotel before. So this is something you just learn to do and you figure out, and just as a person as a client from other hotels, I knew what we wanted, and I knew service was really important, and so it's just, I did it how I felt it should be. And, but in order to be a good operator, and I'm still working on it, you know, because you have to do, there's a lot of things, you have to learn how to do everything pretty much, you know, it's, you're a jack of all trades, you know how to run the pool pumps, in the cafe, I'm a barista too, so, you know, it's a bit of everything, but you have to know it, because if you don't know it, you can't expect your staff to know it, you know, so, and there's always going to be an issue about something or the other, so the best way to do it is just to figure out everything from how the rooms, all, you know, the electricity, you know, we have undergrounding, we've undergrounded all our utilities on the exterior. So because there were a lot of high voltage, so we had to underground it around the properties. But yeah, you know, you have to deal with hurricanes sometimes, or thunderstorms when the other lines just go down. So gotta know what to do, and there's always a first time, and you know, and then I make good notes after that. So if it does happen, you know, because our equipment in the cafe, for instance, is very, if there's a power outage, the proofers are really important, because sometimes if the power outage is too long, then the proofers will not reset to the right time. So when the chefs come in the morning, the baking time is off, and they're not ready, the breads are not ready, so there are all those things that go off as soon as there's a power outage. Whoever's here alerts me, and even if I'm outside, and I travel a lot, but I still am very in touch, almost hourly, with what's going on in the hotels and cafe.
So there's a lot of learn by doing in this,
Yeah.
and I think that's a good point to stop as at the end of the part one interview, and we'll resume in a minute.